Well, I hope you're off to a great week. This is a very special Monday because it's a time to celebrate my wife Cindy's birthday. Now, she'd probably get a little angry with me, but it is her 60th birthday. In fact, I told her at lunch today, I said, you need to enter a beauty contest for 50 and up. And then I rethought that for a second. I said, let's lower that. I think you could win it 40 and up. In fact, I don't know anybody more beautiful inside and out than my wife. So it's been a great day because we got to celebrate her 60th birthday. And we were thinking about, she and I have been together. We started dating at a very, very early age. We were about 15 years old. So we celebrated 45 birthdays. And it's just been such a great, great blessing. So tonight I'm going to talk to you about the 6 faces of humility as somewhat of a tribute for her and her birthday, because there's nobody more humble to me than she is. And if you don't know me, my name is Scotty Sanders, and so I'm kind of the face of our organization, but she still helps tremendously kind of behind the scenes and brings tremendous value in what we do as an international leadership consultant. I get to do training and coaching with people in Africa and Europe and Asia and other parts of the world, but she does a lot of things behind the scene. Almost everything that I write or say goes across her eyes, so I'm very, very blessed in that regard. So I want to talk to you about these 6 faces of humility. When I think about this characteristic of humility, a lot of times we don't think about humility as being a characteristic, but it really is. In fact, I think it's extremely underrated. And I want to talk to you, what does humility look like? And this is an area that I got to continue to, really lean into and see that that's lived out in my life. Of course, I've got a great model for that in watching how my wife lives her life. So I want to talk to you about these 6 faces of humility and see if any of these resonate with you. But I think it'll challenge all of us in the area of humility and why that's important. And I'll kind of close at the end. Why is humility important and why that can make a difference? So here's the first face of humility. It's being a servant leader. See, a servant leader is a lot more concerned about the people that follow them. How can I help the people that I'm to lead? And you never, as a servant leader, you never ask people that you lead to do something that you're not willing to do yourself. They put their followers, the leader puts the followers' needs ahead of their own. That's what a servant leader is, and that is a face of humility. Something I've talked about for years, it's not original by me, but I love it, is Cindy really practiced what I call the span of care. Now, Cindy was a very prolific, if you will, children's leader of a large organization. She had hundreds of people in her organization, but she operated with this span of care. And she also, it was a very prolific writer. She's written several books, but you wouldn't know that by being around her because she's always more concerned about not controlling things, but how can she care for those people that are in her life and the people that are under her leadership. And that's what a servant leader is all about. A second face of humility is a sensitive observer. Now, this is one of the things that I'm really more of that hard charger. So sometimes she really leaves me in the dust. I mean, there's things that I may not notice about someone, but she has this sensitivity radar that she can pick up and very aware when people around her are struggling or hurting or sad. And there's been times where I've seen her go to someone that I'm like, what's going on there? But she saw someone that was in need. Very, very good about that. She has the ability to really read the room and very good about that self-awareness, what's going on in people's lives. So a sensitive observer. And the third one, a good listener. Someone that can ask good questions, that seeks feedback. I've seen her do this over and over. Now, I'm not going to give out any names because this is not meant to be negative toward anybody, but I've seen people drive into Dallas or fly into Dallas and want to meet up with Cindy for maybe a lunch or something like that, because an old friend that someone's coming in town. And sometimes I'll go with Cindy, because she's disabled, can't drive far distances. And I've been with her where she's had friends come in and they talk for 2 or 3 hours. And I'm like, when are we going to leave? But in that 2 or 3 hours, the whole conversation was around the other person. Cindy would ask them questions about them and their work and their family and their kids and so on and so forth. It was always about others, a very good listener. So that's what a humble leader does, and it's one of the faces of humility. Fourth, is a lifelong learner. Cindy has continued to learn. I've seen that in her. I challenged her a year or so ago, maybe it's been a year and a half now, to write a children's book, a illustrated book, as part of our Quest of the Keys resources. Because when we were talking to superintendents of schools and district leaders, many times we'd hear from people, we love Quest of the Keys, it's great for middle school and high school, but you have something for younger kids. And so because I got that information, I challenged Cindy. Cindy, you've had a heart and you've worked with kids for many, many years. I want to challenge you to write a book that takes on the themes of Quest of the Keys, but do it that's geared toward younger kids, kind of that lower elementary. Well, Cindy had never written a book for that age group before, and certainly never done an illustration. So she hired a coach, a writing coach that had expertise in that area. But it just showed her willingness to learn and to grow, and it turned out to be a great book called Guardians of Light. But it was just a great example lived out about being a good learner, someone that was committed to be a lifelong learner. And then number 5 is a deep compassion. If you're around Cindy long, you can tell she deeply cares about people. She's very empathetic, but she has this deep compassion. And sometimes I'll get on her about, she cares so deeply, she carries the burdens of others. She carries the pain of others. I probably don't carry enough of it. She carries maybe too much, but man, I know when I've got something going on in my life or my kids, they want their mom, or I want my wife, because I know how compassionate that she can be. She has deep compassion. And that's a face of humility, someone that has deep compassion and empathy for others. And then number 6, this will be the last one, but the 6th face of a humble leader, of humility, and it would be this: a minimalist. And so a minimalist would be the opposite of a narcissist. Okay, a narcissist, everything's about them. They want the spotlight on them. They want to be the center of attention. Cindy's just the opposite. She always wants to put the spotlight on others. She wants to talk about others and not talk about herself. She wants to highlight good things about others. She doesn't draw attention to herself. She makes others feel important. And people are always willing to do a lot for Cindy, even though she would never ask, because she has that kind of mindset. And Cindy really embodies all 6 of these humility faces, if you will. So she a servant, someone that's a sensitive observer, someone that's a lifelong learner, a good listener that's deeply compassionate, someone that is a minimalist. All of those things that Cindy really reflects, and I've learned so much from her by watching that. Now, why is humility important? I know it's important. I know that it helps me when I stay humble. When things go well, be careful that you don't take too much credit and it doesn't become about your success. And because when things don't go well, then you can share that even with others. Okay, so here's a few things that I know about humility and why it's important. People are drawn to you when you're humble. So think about that for a second. When someone's prideful, you don't want to help them as much. But when someone's humble, you'll go out of your way to help them. I know I'm that way. If someone's prideful and they feel like they've got their act together all the time and they never want to ask for help, who wants to help that person? Well, when someone's truly humble, man, I want to look for ways to help that person. And the second thing about why humility is important is because you're always looking for ways to improve, because you've never arrived. You're on this journey. It's not about perfection. It's about producing while you perfect, but you're always in that mode of, I know I can get better. I know I can learn from even a failure to improve. So I love that about humility. It makes you open to improve. But if you're arrogant, if you're prideful, why would you want to improve? You're already unbelievable or perfect, right? And then the third one is this: why humility is important, because the focus when you're humble is always about others, putting others ahead of yourself. And so listen, I think we need to all work on being more humble. I get to watch a great example of that day in and day out with many, many people, with my wife. And so I hope maybe this has helped you. And so this is wishing my wife, Cindy, a very happy birthday. And I just want you to know, you've showed me over the years what humility looks like, and it's made a difference in me. So I'm very proud to be your husband, and thank you for being that humble wife and the great mom that you are. And listen, if these 6 faces of humility, which I think humility is the most underrated quality of a leader, if this has helped you tonight, would you consider hitting the share button and pass this on to some others? And listen, I hope you're off to a good week and you have a great rest of the week, and we'll plan to get back with you next week as we have another talk on Facebook Live. Take care.